sometimes we're just asleep in the world and we need help opening our eyes to see that there's more.
How does someone know that they're on the cusp of a quantum leap?
It's usually the spiritual 2x4 that comes and hits you across the head that is like, you have to go now. We're cozy. We can get really comfortable and be here for a while. Like, this is nice, but there's more. How quickly do you want it?
And how quickly are you willing to let go of what isn't coming with you? I remember just saying, God, show me what's in the way.
Oof.
Don't pray that prayer unless you want to see what's in the way.
Buckle up.
I don't want to scare people to say like, oh, it's going to really take some of the people I love most out of my life. And it might.
And it might.
Walk everyone through this quantum jump formula.
So the practice is this.
Okay, today's conversation is one you don't want to miss. We are talking about how to quantum leap your reality. Yes, that is an actual thing that you can do. And we're going to get into the fine details of how do you actually accelerate your results by raising your frequency. And if anyone is like, what do those words even mean? Don't worry, we've got you. I have my girl, my good friend Sam Harper here, and she is not only a sound bowl practitioner, she is a former trauma therapist. She's 2-time best alternative wellness practitioner in Arizona, executive leadership coach. But she's someone who just really lives this spirit of authentic leadership. It's why her career and her business has evolved so quickly. And she has been one of my mentors, someone who has been a huge part of the quantum leaps that I've taken in my life and in my business. And this is an episode, if you want to know how to take your life, your business to another level, something that you can't even fathom. It's like your wildest dreams type of reality. We're going to take you there in today's episode. My girl, Sam Harper, welcome to Powerhouse Women.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're like one of those people who's synonymous with Powerhouse Women. You've just been such a big part of my life. You've been such a big part of our events, of my personal growth journey. It's so fun to get to have you back on the podcast. It's been a while though.
Yeah, it's so good to be back. And I think I'm like a ride or die. I'll be forever a powerhouse girly and like rooting for you, showing up, doing all the things. And your community has gotten so much bigger. So it's fun to see like who's around now from back in the day to now.
And literally to see who we have become.
Whoa.
Yeah, we just went there.
We are totally different.
Yeah.
I think I met you in 2019, somewhere around there. Oh my gosh, that is like light years away.
Yeah. And you were really focusing so much more on the executive coaching part of your business, which you still do.
Yeah.
And I remember we connected over the fashion piece.
Yes.
That was something that you were really bringing into your own work. You have worked as a stylist. You've had many lives, if we're being honest.
A million.
And it's kind of part of what I wanted to bring you back on the show to talk about is this whole concept of like a quantum leap. How do we actually shift our frequency to accelerate the results that we're seeing in our businesses, in our lives, and also kind of a word of caution for those calling in what we refer to as a quantum leap. So can we do maybe like a vocab lesson at the beginning here? Because I think these terms get thrown around a lot. How do you define a quantum leap as it relates to the kind of women who are in this community?
Who are listening to this? Yeah. So quantum, honestly, like if we're looking at physics, quantum is actually not a large number or space and time, but when we are collapsing and expanding timelines that we're currently physically living in, it feels massive. So it feels like worlds away. So a quantum jump would be like going from like reality self right now to existing and experiencing higher self in the physical. So rather than being like, well, someday when my higher self comes down and lands on this earth, then and only then will I be able to reach whatever goals or manifestations that I'm putting out. But really the quantum jump is like minimizing that time. There's no space between you and your higher self. You are one. And then you start to get to actually live into the existence that you're calling in.
I love that. That's how I would put laywoman's terms to it is that collapsing of timelines, that there have been these very distinct moments in my growth where it was kind of like I stepped into a little portal and the growth in a shorter period of time seemed extreme. But I also have to take into consideration everything I did to prep and lay the groundwork working up to that. So when I think about a quantum leap, it does mean that there's almost cheat codes. They're kind of our cheat codes to the way that the universe works, conspires to help us step into these higher self identities.
Yes.
And it kind of brings me to my next vocab, that before we dive too deep into this, I want to have people grounded in an understanding of what we're actually talking about. So when people talk about high vibration or raising your frequency, if that's a new term to someone, that probably just sounds like crazy talk. How do those terms and how does the idea of our frequency actually play into this whole idea of the quantum leap that we want to speak to?
Yeah, it is. It's a foreign language until you start to translate all of these feelings, really, because it's a feeling. Vibration, frequency is a feeling. As humans, we like to quantify that and articulate it through words, and that's actually limiting us, right?
Yeah.
So when we can feel into our body the frequency, so say you wake up and you're feeling tired that day, it's not necessarily that you're in low frequency, you just need a little help waking up. And this is actually such a perfect example of like, sometimes we're just asleep in the world and we need help opening our eyes to see that there's more. And that is like this little fraction of a hair on the dial, moving it over one frequency higher to see a little bit brighter, like the dimmer switch, right? So we can, be in a dim light, but then we're like, oh, I can't read these words. I'm approaching 40. Can't read these words as well. I need more light. So you just put it up a little bit more and like, oh, I can see what this says without struggling. That's what this is about, is raising the frequency just a touch so that you have capacity for more. And what does that actually feel like and look like? So say you're feeling like, meh, I'm not feeling it today, or like, it's just not the day. For one, like accept that for where you're at so that you're not resisting that. That is meeting the frequency where you're at rather than struggle. Struggle is a lower density frequency. So even if you meet your meh with more meh, then you're vibing, right? You're in alignment at least. And then from there, it's like, smile it away. Me and my sister always used to say this. It takes 16 seconds of smiling to train your brain chemistry. Oh, we're happy, that's what we're doing. So again, a fraction of a moment, 16 seconds to raise your frequency just by smiling. So when I'm at a red light, I'm waiting for the light to turn, I'll just smile. Even if I'm having a bad day, I'm like 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, I think I'm happy now.
Okay, that's really powerful, because I think when I go back to my early days in personal growth, trying to understand how all this works, I think at a soul level, it always resonated. But then I would hear things like the fake it till you make it advice and things like that. There's actually wisdom in that, but I don't think the practical application of it always translates to feeling different.
Yes.
And that's such a powerful reminder of just the way the body and brain are connected. The simple act of even just broadening your shoulders, sitting up straight, taking a deep breath, smiling, like the muscles in our face can actually trigger different emotions.
Right.
That when I understood how connected it all was and how there were these little shortcuts to quite literally raising my frequency, if I'm having a day, which we all have.
Yes.
I just think there are so many, what would you say are some of the biggest misconceptions in the personal growth and development world that are actually making it harder for us to step into this growth that we want to experience?
I think that people feel like they have to be worthy of, like they have to earn it. And it's like, no, you are worthy just as you are, but you have to allow yourself to receive. It doesn't require more effort for you to get there. In fact, it requires less effort to receive.
That part.
I think that's where people get really hung up of like, okay, I have to there's a long checklist of like spiritual things to do, right? I have to wake up and meditate and breathe and drink cacao and be in the circles and do all the things, right?
The sauna. Don't forget the sauna.
The sauna, the cold plunge, the Apollo, the sage. I can go on the crystals, like all of it. Yes, those are beautiful supplements. Those are supplements, like we would take a vitamin D supplement, right? They're supplements to get something that is already within you. And so just by allowing yourself to receive is the biggest hack, actually.
What are 3 things that actually lower our vibration, our frequency, and prevent us from manifesting the things that we want to manifest?
I think for number 1 is going against what your body is telling you. And this can be in macro and micro things. So even for instance, I wake up and I'm like, oh, I need some caffeine. I want some coffee. And my body says, no coffee today. And I'm like, no, yeah, I really need coffee. And then I have coffee and guess what? I get an upset stomach. My head starts hurting. Like it's not in alignment, right? So not listening to your body is like a major one. And then the words that we speak when they're out of alignment. So I actually I catch myself in this almost daily, and because it is such a practice of kind of framing things of like not working out when really they are working out or they're realigning. I'm like, oh, I don't feel so good today. No, actually my body is telling me what I need to put more attention on. Not that I don't feel good. It's oh, thank you, body, for showing me where to focus today, or what needs a little bit more love, or what needs attention. So listening and speaking the words, so feeling the body, speaking the words, and then also who are you hanging out with? Like who are the people that you're around? Yes, like seasons are amazing for certain groups. And then sometimes your higher self is like, maybe we got to go over here now. So loving and kind is like, not everybody gets to be in every season. And because your higher self is guiding you.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important to reassess like who is around you. How are they speaking? How are they in alignment? Like watch, like we all know this, like you do become the 5 people that you were around the most, right? To some degree, you start acting like each other and you start saying the same phrases and you're inspired by one another. And that is great. But once that kind of wears out, it's okay to say, you know what, I think I need, and most of the time it's like, I need to go internal. It's not that I need to go find new friends or like, you're not in my life ever again. It's like, I need to go internal to see what is right for me right now. And I think people bypass that part. And solitude and isolation is different than blocking people out. Yeah. It's actually a very sacred place to be.
Okay, all 3 of those, as I'm tracing back these different time periods where now the hindsight I have is that was my quantum leap. It looked like becoming acutely aware of what my body needed. Sometimes by getting sick, getting hurt, the body will demand that I hear it.
Yes.
It looked like shedding. It looked like being sometimes violently forced out of situations.
Yes.
I think about, so there's 2 time periods in my life I was thinking about in preparation for this conversation, because I do think it's important to talk about, when we call in a quantum jump, a quantum leap, we just have this restlessness inside us. Like, I know I'm supposed to be at this other stage of my journey. I think we're feeling that for a reason. I think there's maybe a part of us that has been delaying our own process, holding on to things, staying in environments. I think back to when I was in my previous business in the network marketing company, I had felt the ping to really put my attention into Powerhouse Women, but it wasn't making any money. It was like a big leap of faith. And I was resisting taking the actions to get myself in a position where that could be a financially safe choice to make. And I didn't listen. And then things got real uncomfy, like to the point, I can laugh about it now. There was a situation that happened where a certain person came in. It would be really easy to see this person as a villain for the way they showed up in my life, but they were quite literally the biggest gift I've ever been given. I can say that now. At the time, it was real prickly. But I actually ended up like getting kicked out of this like 5,000 person Facebook community I had started, like kicked out of this season.
Yeah.
It was so clear, like, you're meant to go.
Yes.
And I want you to speak to that, how sometimes I think there's this choice. We either get to choose to change, to follow that nudge, or sometimes we're forced.
Yeah.
And that's not always so comfortable. But regardless, there's just a lot of change that often occurs when we want to be living a higher timeline, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's usually the spiritual 2x4 that comes and hits you across the head that is like, you have to go now, right?
Yeah.
It usually takes a hard lesson to understand, like, oh, I should have listened to myself or paid attention to my intuition, right? Because a lot of people don't trust themselves. And so when these pings come in of like, I know I need to do this, it typically comes from a place of like, but I don't know if I can trust that on a subconscious level. I don't know if I can trust that I can handle it when I get there, that I can hold enough, that I'm prepared, you know? And so we put these like protective barriers, and God, the universe, is like, you got this, and pushes you off the cliff, right? And it doesn't have to be, but we do have a choice. But I think that the consequence of the choice, and it's a consequence, and it's a good consequence typically, it's just how quickly do you want it? How quickly do you want to live the highest version of you? Like we're cozy. We can get really comfortable and be here for a while. Like, this is nice. I like it, you know? But there's more. There's more. And it's just like, how quickly do you want it?
How quickly do you want it? And how quickly are you willing to let go of what isn't coming with you?
It's mostly that. It's like you let go 90% of the way, and then there's this one little string that you're like, well, I'm going to hold on just in case. And then that string either like tears apart or gets cut, you know, and it's all so good. And I truly believe that our choice is how we're supposed to get it. And the consequence of that choice is how we're supposed to get it. And ultimately it benefits us. And then we make quicker decisions and tighter discernment along the way.
Yeah. I want to bring this conversation around to your background as a former trauma therapist, because there's the spiritual side of it, which I am all about.
Love it.
And when I look back at that season, or even if I look at all the extreme change that happened in my life last year, which I do believe I'm going to see it in a different vantage point 5 years from now.
Yes.
What it was actually offering me wasn't just this fast track to my next level. It was offering me this life lesson, the spiritual 2x4, that pointed me back to myself, ultimately to face and heal something much deeper that was preventing me from embodying this next level of myself.
Yeah.
So in the gift and the lesson of the network marketing season, what had happened is I attracted in an energy of someone who I joke that it was like my first hater, someone who I felt so misunderstood by, and someone who actually went on like an I Hate Lindsay campaign, which was the perfect spiritual lesson for me because I was calling in more visibility. I wanted to make this big impact. I could not handle one person misunderstanding me.
Right.
And I had to sit with the pain and the grief of being so misunderstood, and then feeling as though one person's opinion was swaying other people's opinions. I can see it now with the distance I have. That was 7 years ago, to see that it was exactly what I needed. But I'll never forget, it was before I knew you. It was before I was working with some of the beautiful spiritual mentors I have now. But I said this really simple prayer at the beginning of the year.
Here it comes.
It should come with a warning label. But I remember just saying, God, show me what's in the way. Show me what's in the way. Don't pray that prayer unless you want to see what's in the way.
Buckle up. Yes. And you saw everything. It was illuminated right in front of you. Yeah. These are bold prayers. This is what I'm saying about be careful what you speak and what you pray for, and how quickly you want it. Yeah. And because look, we're going to get the polarities of anything that we call in. We have to see both sides in order to make a choice. Do I accept this, or am I going to deny this and push it down the road for me to decide again later?
Yeah.
Right?
So bringing that I forgot my original point in bringing that up, because you are a former trauma therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And so many of these things are tied to, if I look at where did my people-pleasing tendencies come from? It was big T or little t trauma from the past that taught me, no, to be safe, I must make sure everyone likes me.
Mm-hmm.
Will you talk about the role of healing these opportunities, whether we're seeking them out to heal some of these traumas and some of these patterns that for those of us who know we're meant to do really big things in the world, there will be things you have to heal out of. There will be things that, and it just gives you such perspective to help others in that journey too. But that was a big one. And then the current season, really looking at the way I operated in relationships, business relationships, romantic relationships, the way I self-abandoned because I was afraid of conflict. I was afraid to just assert my own needs. And it's one thing, again, to call in that next level. It's a whole other thing to realize that what you're calling in is the perfect lesson for your soul to heal something that feels like it's just as much a part of you as like your left arm.
Well, it is. It is, because we store these traumas at a cellular level in our bodies. And until we can somatically move through them, heal them, look at them straight in the eye, whether that be in a therapy office or in a healing circle, hopefully both, right? We want to overlap both, not just get nutrients from one and think that that's it. It's holistic healing, right? Mind, body, and soul. And that's what I love, having my experience as a trauma therapist. I know the deep psychology of how to untangle the mess that our neuropsychology weaves, and then how it can flood the system. And then from a spiritual aspect, like really smooth it out. But it gives us an opportunity to return back to the inner child and to relearn so much, and then to make a choice as the adult, right? So a lot of us live in like this made up reality that is not actually real. But until we can meet our inner child and heal that, and then our inner teen, and then our inner like rebellious young adult, maybe I'm just speaking for myself, and then into our adult, into this moment here. It's like this inner journey first. And I think from the standpoint of a leader, and then speaking to so many leaders listening to this, is it's actually our responsibility to do the healing, to be an authentic leader.
Ooh, will you speak more to that?
Yes. So we know now, I think more people are waking up to the fact that it's not just a business. It's who you are is in every single aspect of that business. Yes, it's on the outside of you, but it came from the inside of you. And so in order for that business to thrive, or the project to thrive, or whatever it is that you're working on, it comes from you. And you're speaking about triggers. You will certainly be triggered. And what happens is, if you haven't done the responsibility of doing the healing, you're going to word vomit, you're going to bleed out, you're going to project. Is that leadership? I think that there is a high demand and calling on leaders to take full radical responsibility for their own triggers and do the healing, so that they can be in a position, in a posture. It's not perfection. It's not perfection whatsoever. In fact, it's like, this is where I'm working on myself. So please give me some grace while I understand, while I relearn, and while I can be certain in who I am. Right? So it's saying, I am a leader and I'm going to show you the way.
Yeah.
Not in just this one area, but in every area, because we take responsibility for ourselves.
I 100% feel that. And it's one of the things I really admire about you. It's one of the reasons why you were one of my mentors in a season that was, now I look back and realize it was preparing me for the season that I just came through. Because a lot of what we worked on was flowing.
Yes.
I remember being like, flow. Yeah, got it. Cool, got it. And you're like, you don't got it. And surrender and stillness. I wouldn't have had the capacity to support myself had I not really mastered and leaned into that. But I say this to really acknowledge just that you are that type of leader who really shares. So what right now working on? What are you healing through? What are some of the biggest triggers showing up as opportunities for you to heal?
So, similar to you of like this visibility and being very seen. And about 6 months ago, I stepped away from one business and I said very vocally and publicly to my community, I'm not going to do anything until I'm given an okay by my guides, by God, that yes, move on this now. And so for me, it's this feeling of like, I'm not doing enough and feeling
Don't
like,
know her.
right. Like, I know I said this, I'm going to wait, but like the impatience is kind of like itching. And it's funny because I like look at my stuff and I'm like, I'm actually doing a lot. It's just in a different way. And the things that I've recently been, God is like, go now, speak up now, show this now. It's very scary for me. And I'm very like, I have a lot of people misunderstanding me in the moment, like very acutely, like right now. And I'm like, you guys just wait for the whole story because there's just a little bit of paint on the picture right now and just hang with me here. And so I'm like trying to resist this over explanation and trusting that it will all pan out. And so I'm like, okay,
breathe.
We're breathing through it.
So as someone who is in this current lesson of, if I were to put words to it, because I feel like I'm in my own version of it, it's the preparation season for more visibility. A lot of women who listen to this podcast know that they're meant to be seen and heard in a bigger way.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to the person who's in this season with us, who knows they're meant to be seen in a bigger way and is really, really afraid of being misunderstood? It's paralyzing sometimes.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's really can feel heavy on the system. I would say, can you see yourself? It's like seeing the forest through the trees, right? That's the saying.
That sounds smart, yeah.
Right?
That sounds like what it is.
Can you actually see yourself? Because it really comes down to, if you can see yourself fully and completely, it doesn't matter if anybody else sees you. So it's almost reverse engineering this idea of like, I need to be seen by everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting with I'm going to be seen by exactly the right people who are meant to see me. And I don't need to control what that looks like. So it's a reverse engineering of visibility, like bring it back to you. Can you see your heart? Can you see your soul? Can you see your truth? That's all that's really important. And then by living in that, everybody will see you. Like I get a lot of people saying like, wow, Sam, you really show up very authentically. And I'm like, well, look, if I'm not going to do it, every other perspective is going to be diluted in a way because it's not coming directly from the source. So I'll out myself all the time because at least it's the truth, right?
And you own it.
And I own it, and I know my heart, and I know where I'm at, and so I'm okay with that.
I remember when I reflect back on my first hater.
Yeah.
I remember the gift of that season. Remember, this was before Powerhouse Women was anything. I had one event. Didn't know what the future of this was going to look like, but it was going to require me to be able to hold space for more visibility. And I remember sitting in that season and I was acutely aware of how it was so clear to me, the hold that other people's opinions had over me. I was just so crushed.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting and like through my snotty tears, just really feeling like how disappointed I was, like how hurt I was. There was just this little teeny tiny voice that was like, but I like me. I know me.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it this way. I don't want to put it out there as to say that everyone who has these fears about visibility is going to have to confront a situation that gives them their lesson. And if you do, I really want you to know that the gifts are hidden inside.
Of course.
I wouldn't have gotten to experience that visceral feeling of, and I just also remembering that prayer, show me what's in the way, and also realizing how much my identity was tied to how other people viewed me, to the point that then in this season of just feeling broken down, I remember praying and just saying, if I'm not who I think I am, because a lot of the comments being made were just character attacks that felt really personal, because that felt extra personal.
Yes.
And I remember saying, if I'm not who I say I am, take it all.
Yeah.
And I'll just rebuild from the ground up.
Oh, whew, that's chills on my body. Wow.
And I really just sat in that, like, well, let me just try on. Maybe this person is mirroring something back to me that I'm not willing to see.
Mm-hmm.
And, and so I found some truth in it. I found some things that I was like, you know what? She's kind of right, because I'm not being 100% authentic. I'm showing up in the way I think this person wants me to show up.
Right.
That's on me.
And that's what I'm talking about taking radical responsibility.
So hard.
It's so hard. That's why a lot of people don't do it.
Yeah.
It's scary too.
Yeah.
It's scary to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, am I actually who I say I am?
Yeah.
Or can my higher self be a little bit closer in this moment? Because she's really got it figured out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I texted you on September 17th. I remember the exact day. This year, as I had just finalized our divorce, realizing that I said our divorce, like yours and mine.
I was in it with you.
You were there. My girls were there with me. And realizing that exactly a year prior, during our work together, you had given me a protocol, an actual, I guess a ritual, would I call it? Or
I like protocol.
Protocol,
yeah.
Yes. To really welcome in the energy of this quantum leap I was calling in. And I started my work with you knowing I was on this cusp of just something new, and I felt like it was greater. We put all these human words to it. I just felt like it was an expansion. No idea what it was. Even now when I think back of the external 3D world version of what I thought that was going to look like, I don't know that it's that, but it was the energy of it. And he said, okay, I'm going to give you this protocol that I'll use, but it came with a warning label. You said, this isn't something you do once a month. It's really to be honored as the powerful intention that it is. And I remember, and I'm going to have you share with everybody what it was. We're not going to leave you guys hanging, but I was really calling in that next level. And so I bring this up to say, I feel like that was this version of me. That was my way of saying, show me what's in the way. Show me what can't come along.
Yes.
And I don't at all want this to sound like, I don't want to scare people. I don't want to scare people to say like, oh, it's going to really take some of the people I love most out of my life. And it might.
And it might.
And that I think I'm still sitting with. I think I'm sitting with the version of me that wanted to stay the same in one area. Because I didn't want those relationships to change. And there were a few of them, major relationships in my life that really quickly weren't a part of my path anymore.
Yeah.
And I wanted both. I wanted one hand on my future self that I also feel is like, I'm not trying to become anyone that I'm not. I feel like it's my soul calling me into my true embodiment of who I'm here in this lifetime to be. Oh, it's still so hard. It's like, I still am kind of like, what the...
I know.
But I think it's important to talk about how there will be changes that version of you that's calling in what's next can't see. So walk everyone through, if you want to just summarize this quantum jump formula, this protocol. It comes with a warning label.
It does. It absolutely comes with a
And then
warning
if you want to
label.
speak to any of that, because again, I'm not trying to scare people to say...
Don't worry, I'll scare people. I'll do it for you.
Okay, great. I'll be the good cop, bad cop.
Yeah,
okay.
Let's do it. So what I will describe here is a quantum leap protocol practice. And the warning label is truly like, do this with such clarity that you are prepared for what you can't fully see. So this does require an element of surrender, of blind faith, and trust that once you're on the other side of the quantum jump, that you have everything that you need to hold space for your growth, to understand and know what's happening, and to forge ahead on this beautiful new path. And so, yeah, you might lose some things, but you gain so much more. It's so much more. Quantum leaps more, right? So do it with caution. I only actually do this practice twice a year, probably, if that. I can't even remember the last time I did this quantum jump. Let me think.
I remember because I've only done it once and I'm still
You remember, right?
scared.
Once. And so, because then it takes integration,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So this is not something that you do all the time. Like
Yeah.
it's very sacred. So the practice is this. It seems quite simple, and it is quite simple. There's nothing, you don't need like all of these gadgets or gizmos and all the spiritual divination things. You just need yourself in the shower.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an intentional shower. So you step into the shower. So thinking about stepping into like this portal, as you described earlier, step into this portal, this vortex of energy, and turning the water as cold as it could possibly go, and allowing that water to hit your third eye. So that space right between the eyebrows. And while you're allowing this water to flood over your system, you are in complete and utter truth about your current reality. So it's, I don't like my job. My relationship is not going well. I just got kicked out of this community. I feel rejected. My body's not how it wants to be. My eating, you go on and on and on. Describe your current reality while the water, cold, ice cold water is hitting your third eye. When you've gotten through that reality, then you switch the water to as hot as you could possibly handle and let the water hit the top of your head, so the crown. And you can literally feel the shift in your full body as this warm water warms up the ice cold parts of you. And as this warm water is flooding your system, then you are embodying the reality that you want. So this is when we get really, really expansive with where you want to be. What does your higher self want? But you're talking as if it's currently happening. So something I would say is like, thank you so much. So Barrett Jackson's yesterday. So I'm like, I love that I get to drive around in this Lamborghini that is like super sexy, and I feel really solid in myself. I feel very self-assured. I have the most beautiful people surrounding me. I love my home that I get to live in. I'm excited to get on this airplane to this luxe vacation. Like, you're just living it up, right? Like, into the reality. And you can get very specific. I'm speaking very general here, but you can get really specific about the reality and speak as if it is your current reality. And then you step out of the water while the water can still be running, and you just give so much gratitude to your guides, to God, to the universe, however you connect to source, light, being. Thank you so much for providing all of these blessings to me. Thank you for giving them to me and I can't see them yet. Thank you for opening doors and closing others. Thank you for the opportunity to quantum leap into a reality that I've been hoping and wishing for. Thank you for making this easy for me. Like, just go on and on, like a war cry of prayer. Thank you so much, until your system is like literally overflowing with gratitude. And then you turn the water off and you can open your eyes and step out of the shower into your new reality. And sometimes things happen instantaneously. I've had quantum jumps that are like, boom, right now, things happen as soon as I step out. And sometimes it can take some time. So 2 weeks is usually when I start to see things really start to come in. I think that was what I was telling you too. Like, just watch. In 2 weeks, some things will start to make sense. Or it can take up to a year, full fruition.
Now that I think about it, though, it was about within 4 weeks. I mean, there were things that started to reveal themselves. And then, to be honest, I wasn't willing to see them. And it had to be the 2x4 that was like, I know you're not willing to make this decision, so we're going to make it really, really clear.
Really clear.
And that feels like super vulnerable to share here. And I don't at all think that, I just think that that's the way that it was. And I think I'm still in it, so I don't fully understand. But I want you to speak to, okay, so it's not like this isn't magical water. This isn't, but so what is the power in this? Is it the intention? Is it the energy that we bring to it? What is, for someone who's maybe more spiritually curious, and this is kind of like, I don't know, that sounds weird. And this lady says a lot changed. No, thank you. Yeah. How do you know you are maybe ready to use this type of a protocol to support your growth? And then what are like the magic factors? Like, what has it be so powerful? Because I've experienced it. It is.
Right. It's so powerful. And it is like, we are powerful beings. Our mind is so powerful. But then when we can actually switch from the mind into the body, into the felt somatic experience, then the universe is like, oh, I know what frequency you're on. Let me match that. And so it's just as like saying affirmations. I am a magnet to money. Money is flowing into me in several different ways. The universe is listening. It's like, oh, and then boom, you get $5 here, you get $10 here, you get $100 here, you know, like it happens, right? But it's a very somatic, visceral experience because you're doing work on your body that is vulnerable. So that takes it up a notch. You're literally naked in the shower, exposed fully and completely. This is me. This is my reality. This is what I want to step into and live. Here is all of me in gratitude, not masked, not done up. Your hair is wet. There's no makeup on. Like, this is you in your rawest form. And I think that's what makes it so powerful.
I never thought about that. How does someone know that they're on the cusp of a quantum leap or ready for one?
This is one of those things that's hard to explain. Like, you just feel it, you know, like you can feel this surge of energy that's kind of like moving in your body, or that gut feeling, or you're like, for me, it's usually like, I feel almost if I have hands behind me, like pushing me forward of like, it's time, it's time. Or maybe you hear that you're ready. It's time. Go now.
Yeah.
But that comes with slowing down, getting silent, listening, going beyond what the mind is saying, but what guidance you're getting from your body.
That's so good. This just popped into my mind because I think this is where it's feeling a little bit, I don't want to leave this loop open in a way that, again, scares people out of whether it's you want to do a protocol or just that you're afraid. There have been moments I'm afraid of my own growth because I think I energetically can sense what it's going to have me sacrifice. That's what I'm trying to say. I also, who I am right now sitting here, and I remember there was actually a line you gave me when I did the protocol that was something about, let the outcome be the highest and best for everyone involved.
Yes, for everyone involved.
And that, I think, is maybe hard to see. It could be hard to see in the current situation, but I fully know that everything that happened is the highest and best for everyone involved. Yes. I can sit here today and say that, and I don't have the evidence for it.
Right.
Will you speak to that piece? Because I think that's where a former version of me felt like, okay, but if I'm doing this, is it selfish of me to choose this path because I'm leaving someone behind, or whatever that might look like? If if it does cause a rupture, if it causes a change, even I think about like the network marketing team, a lot of reasons why I was staying was I didn't want to disappoint other people, which wasn't helping them.
Right. And that's just it. And I've said this before, probably even to you, is it's medicine in both directions, right? So, and it's not about, like, we don't do these practices out of malicious intent at all. It is actually to serve the highest good for yourself and the highest good for the ripple effect that it causes, because it will cause a ripple effect. And so it's through love and kindness of like, I know that this is going to work out for me, and I know that my ripple is going to move through somebody else, and I pray and I hope that it is the best for them too. Whether they see it right now or not, that's really not up to me. Like, that's their journey to go on, but it is medicine. And sometimes I'm going to speak a lot about this in the coming weeks, but the medicine tastes good when you want it. The medicine does not taste good when you need it.
But it's all medicine.
All medicine for healing. Medicine is healing. So it's all healing.
There are so many other things that I want to ask, and we'll just continue to do more and more episodes for people who would like to connect, who are really calling in a mentor. I know your programs fill up really quickly, but just want to be in your world, want to know about the Sound Vault. We didn't talk about your entire sound healing portion of your business, which is a powerful way to help raise your frequency. Where's the best way for people to connect with you?
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. SamanthaHarper.com. You can find all of my stuff there. And on Instagram, I'm Sam_E_peace, Sammy Peace. And yeah, I have so many opportunities to connect in my Rise program, Phoenix, and my Sound Vault. The Sound Vault is awesome. I'm putting new content in there that is literally elevating it beyond what I could possibly imagine. I'm so excited. So
I'm so excited for those new additions.
Beautiful way to add to your daily practice of raising those vibes so that you can call in these big things that are on your heart.
And as someone who has been a participant in your programs and just in your life, you are the real deal.
Oh, thank you.
You are.
Thanks.
And I love to end the guest episodes with a reminder for us, as well as everyone listening, to pause and acknowledge. I think when we just had that moment at the beginning of thinking back to how much we've grown and changed since knowing each other, there's so many mini moments in there that I'm just looking on to the next thing. I don't pause and acknowledge myself. We just call it a powerhouse moment. It could literally be anything big or small that right now you just want to take a moment to acknowledge yourself publicly for. So when I ask, what's a recent powerhouse moment that you want to celebrate? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
The first thing that comes to mind is being on stage with Gabby Bernstein.
No big deal.
Like sharing a stage with somebody that I've looked up to forever, who is a hidden mentor of mine. Like now she knows because I've been able to talk to her. But sharing a stage with Gabby Bernstein was like a really huge marker in the elevation of where I'm going. Like it was incredible. And so I'm like, yes, more please. Thank you, more please. That's what I always say to the universe. So that, it was amazing.
Yeah. And that's a big moment. I feel like I'm sort of like the Kris Jenner in your DMs as I'm seeing you have these moments. Because so often I think for anyone else who knows you, they're seeing that and thinking, oh, that's of course Sam would be on stage with Gabby Bernstein. But being able, it's like so important as we see our friends step into these dreams to pause and be like, no, this is major.
This is a big deal.
Like, I'm screenshotting this and putting it on my refrigerator. This is huge. And it's just such an honor to watch you rise. To rise along with you.
You rise, baby. That's what we do. Thank you so much for having me. And it's been beautiful to see you rise in such an elegant way with so much grace for this path that is unknown. Going from a year ago into this quantum leap, and now you're experiencing it, and it's just amazing to see you step into this light.
I rise, you rise.
I rise, you rise.